All right, you want to do the regular intro?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Sam.
Wait, where do we look?
No, we're gonna look this way.
Okay.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Sam Mock.
And I'm Jahan.
And I'm CL.
And we are AMP. Hello. So how we got started?
Yeah. So I guess to put it in order, James posted up a video online of him rapping, just having some fun. When he was a college student, and when he posted on Facebook, Sam saw it and was like, "Wow, this guy is really good." And so he's like, "Hey, let's connect and do some music together." So they connected that way. I met James because my cousin was his youth pastor at the church, and so he's like, "Hey, this guy at my church who does Christian hip hop and stuff." And so when I went to share testimony at his church, that's when we connected and we started doing music together.
Yeah.
And then James was working on a mixtape and got a beat from Sam. And so he's like, "Hey, you mind if my buddy CL gets on this?" And that's when I met Sam when we filmed the video for that, and actually became the song "See You in Heaven" on our first album. Yeah, so all that happened within a span of like 6 months. Yeah.
And from there we just we met Chung's manager, and he kind of suggested to us that we should become a group. And so after some prayer and deliberation, we're like, "Yeah, let's go for it."
Yeah, so that started in 2010, and so we've been together since then.
Man,
yeah,
almost 5 years.
Almost 5 years.
I think the vision behind the whole tour was really, it started out just being, tailing off the vision of our label called Good Fruit that we released earlier this year. Really, we wanted to begin to try to establish a platform where we could, within the church community, the Asian American church community, and be a platform where it's all about like the arts and the faith, right? And so the whole vision behind the tour was to unite who we knew, artists that we knew, artists that we liked, their music, who we felt like also are influential within their own communities, to come together and try to do a show together to really, influence and impact culture in the way that lines up with the vision and mission of arts and the faith. So that kind of was the catalyst, I guess, of starting it, and then working with ministries like Renew and the Great Company and so forth. It just became a larger vision in really uniting together, because we feel like to really impact culture and really impact communities and people, we got to be unified, right? And so we wanted to also set that example as, hey, we come from different backgrounds, we come from different churches, but we want to come together because this is greater than us. This is greater us as solo artists, as group artists, and we need to come together. So that was real, the purpose and mission behind it.
And you guys are actually, all who are attending these concerts, this tour, you're actually witnessing a piece of history. Because this is the first ever Asian American Christian hip hop tour. There's never been this many Asian American hip hop artists in the same lineup, sharing the same stage with the same mission to glorify Christ as the center. And so I feel like it's something really special, and I feel bad for people who can't come out, because this really is something that
monumental.
It is monumental.
Seriously.
In that sense. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think one thing that when I was observing yesterday, a few things, just being with it felt like a family reunion. Like we already kind of knew each other, so it felt like distant relatives or brothers that were just coming together and hanging out. And I feel like all of us are pretty honest with our music, and we take our craft seriously. We want to do things with excellence, but at the forefront, we're Christians first. So like that unity of being Christian like really unites us, and our faith is really important to us. So like because that's at the forefront, we're really able to bond and mesh and joke around and kind of understand each other on a really deep level. So I think coming together, it's been really fun. And like just another thing I want to add is like, because this is so much monumental, like we had yesterday we had these 4 young kids come open up for us, and they won a talent competition for us, and they're students in Berkeley area, and it was just so amazing seeing them, because we have somehow created a platform for young Christians, young Asian Christians, to possibly start their career and use this as a some sort of launch pad for something that maybe God has for them. So I thought it was beautiful. They sang great, and I was just so proud of them, and it's like, man, we get to be some sort of ambassador, older brother kind of figure for a lot of artists, because somehow we've come to this place. God has really brought us here. So it's really, really exciting. And, you know, it is kind of sad for people to miss out. We're not just saying that. It's like really, really cool. Yeah.
I think the reception has been pretty good, though. You know, last night, the Alameda show, you know, turnout was pretty good. And I think people were just excited to see, because there's a certain group of people who listen to MCG, a certain group of people who listen to Go, listen to NACA, listen to AMP, and some people who listen to all of our music together. And just to see them come together in one building and do this type of show together was just really exciting, encouraging, and for them. And then, you know, even today, it was like a different type of reception where, I mean, we had our flight delayed and everything got pushed back. You know, but then at the airport, it was just a great time of fellowship just between the artists. So the reception, even between the artists, being able to build, not just doing, you know, not just serving together, not just doing music together, but being able to build as brothers, as friends, and get to know each other outside of the music. You know, was really important. And I think like a platform like this and the overall vision, that's needed. You know, a strong bond where it's not just about ministry, it's not just about music, but it's about, you know, just being brothers and being friends and getting to know each other, you know. So I think overall the reception has been pretty good, you know.
I think the biggest thing is right now there aren't many Asian American, I guess, Christian archetypes in media, in culture. There's, you know, for me, the people I look up to, you know, are the spiritual leaders of this nation mostly aren't Asian, you know. And I think there's a certain struggle and conflict that Asian Americans face, in particular reconciling their culture that they've been brought up in terms of their Asian culture, but also reconciling this fact that they're American, and these values kind of coming together, sometimes clashing, all while this overarching Christian faith also instills more of an identity and is an umbrella over being Asian, over being American. And so because of that, for us, we feel like it's important for godly Asian American men and women to be on, I guess, be an example for people to know, wow, there are godly Asian American men and women, and they are in the arts, they're in media, they're in these areas which we never thought was possible to be in the first place. And so we think that's really important, especially if Asians are going to stay in America, which they are, you know, and the communities are going to keep growing, and as brothers and sisters in Christ, we want to build the church. And so that's not only in, you know, these areas which Asians have felt like they've been blocked in for so long, whether it was like being a doctor, a lawyer, a businessman, or engineer, something like that, but there's so much more for us to do, and we really want to spread that message of being an example of, you know, that there are all these kinds of ways that Asian Americans can grow and have an identity in Christ that is solid, founded in the Word, founded in this discipleship in church and those kind of things. I think thinking of it or comparing it to a secular institution, when anyone desires to become a professional or extremely proficient at something, whatever it is, in terms of profession, what they will do is place themselves in an institution that will keep them accountable to be able to take the right directions to grow in professionalism for whatever they're trying to do. With that said, we believe that Christ is the way to life. And the thing is, the only way that humans grow is under the tutelage of other humans. The only way that humans are able to develop is by watching other human beings live and do this whole thing called life. And so, as Christians, that really is what church is at its foundation. It's a group of believers who unite together weekly, daily, maybe, you know, to encourage each other to keep living this life and to do the hard things. And so we believe, you know, this idea that, you know, everyone, you know, there are Christians everywhere, so we're all the church, you know. That is true in the sense that there is a universal church. But at the same time, in terms of commitment, For your job, you commit to one place and you train there. And in the same way, in terms of growing in the joy of the Lord, in a lifestyle that is life-giving to yourself and to other people, we believe that is found in the heart of the local church. Yeah. That is where true discipleship, true growth, true character building, sometimes feeling very abrasive, right? Like, why are you exposing these dirty, ugly things, And that's how we felt even in our own journeys, why did you just expose that sin to me? I feel so naked and exposed. But looking in retrospect, thank you for doing that, because I grew out of that. I took a path to greater joy and greater life from that. And it was by the help, support, discipline, and specifically and most importantly, the gospel-centered love, unconditional love that is shown by a community that is the local church.
Did you guys want to add anything to that?
No, that was well
good.
said.
Yeah, I think Sam hit it on the nail. I think it's commitment, because I think when people look at churches, it is a commitment to it. It will stretch you and challenge you, and that is what church is supposed to do. That's how we grow and mature. But I think also, as much as we need the local church, we also need to understand that we have to invest into the local church. Yes. So it is a commitment both ways.
Yeah.
It's not just what can I get from the church, but also what can I give.
Yeah.
We'll call it a Fearless Tour because a couple reasons. One, Christian hip hop is kind of like, I guess the term is out there right now, a bit of an anomaly if you look at the culture of hip hop.
Yes.
And then of course culture of the kingdom, right? For scripture and how we live. But as being Asian Americans in hip hop, especially Christian hip hop, we feel like that's even more anomaly.
We are very fearless.
Where it's like we're not. People kind of look at us like, what do we do with these guys?
Yeah.
Right? And so taking that risk, or more so we say taking that step of faith, we are taking a risk, and we have to be fearless, because we get maybe looked at different, maybe things may be said about things that we do, both from the church and outside of the church. And so I think from that aspect is one, and also two is just encouraging people to say, whatever you feel God has called you to do, you have to be bold, you have to be fearless in order to do it, because He may call you to do things that are uncomfortable, that are out of your comfort zone. And so just trusting in the Lord that He is going to pave that way for you, He is going to provide, He is going to protect and watch over you, and just to have that trust in Him really does require to be fearless. And so that was the whole notion behind the tour. Like, if we step into the art realms and arts in the faith, which is something that is on the rise, in today's culture and the church, our whole thing was like, we must be fearless and engage in culture, right? Getting past even some of the, kind of like when you witness, you get nervous, you go to evangelize, I don't know if I want to talk to that guy, kind of thing, where it's like, you have to be fearless, right? So that's kind of the notion behind it.
Yeah, I like that.
And then, we can all share what we think what it means to be fearless. I guess I'll just start some talking, but I think me being fearless is just really just submitting to the Lord, because when we submit our lives and whatever it is to the Lord, it's really just entrusting Him with that, and we may not know what happens tomorrow. We may not know what happens the next hour, but knowing that, everything is in His hands, and we trust in that, and to me, I feel like that's what it means to be fearless.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, it's knowing what the outcome already is, because you have an almighty King who has, at the end of the day, given you victory, and you're allowed to live in that reality. So I think, that allows us to be fearless, because we know at the end of the day, no matter what happens, we have an all-sovereign God who loves us, who sacrificed everything for us and pursues us. So, I really like what Chung said, like really submitting to the Lord. That's being very fearless.
I think there is also a misconception in that word fearless, because it implies that it's kind of the absence of fear. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think to give another analogy, it's like if you know the ending to a scary movie and you still watch the movie, right? There are moments when you're like, oh my gosh, still, right? But at the end of the day, you are secure in the fact that you know what the end is going to be, you know? And as Christians, that's what we believe is this life, there's a torrent of emotions. There's happiness, sadness, depression, anger, envy, deceit, lies, betrayal, all this stuff, right, that could fill us with anguish. But we have this underlying assurance that one day Christ will restore all things, make it all new. He will bring us to him, and all brokenness will be restored and fixed, right? And so because of that, fearlessness, rather than being the absence of fear, is not allowing fear to be the controlling emotion, to be the leading emotion, but rather something that we submit to a greater sense of peace and security in the outcome, which is Christ and his victory. Yes. I think recently AMP has had a chance to perform in Korea. And this event that we performed at, it was a large music festival, and it was actually a secular event. So it was very strange because here we are singing songs about Jesus, you know, and it's to thousands of people where many of them are not believers. And, you know, I think it's the fact that we are Asian, so we look like, you know, Korean people, and we are Korean Americans, you know. And so I think because we have that background of our culture, we were welcomed more into a culture that actually right now is in many ways adverse towards the church. And so it's given us a lot of opportunities to give the gospel and music to people who normally would not have been open to it. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, just thank you to
Yeah,
everyone
thank
who's always constantly supported us, because we couldn't do or be where we're at without you guys' support. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
This is Amp signing out. Peace.